All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to give you guys a few tips on how to create like the screwdriver bottle opener on the end of the handy helper hammer. So we're going to start off by sketching, on the surface. And this is the overall length of the object, right? And it's just square. I've already put the holes in it, but now I need to like add my bottle opener thing, right? And it tells me here the tip details, and it's giving me like this graph paper basically of 1/4" squares. All right, so that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to start with here is I'm going to start to draw 1/4" boxes or squares. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line going across like that. And I'm going to draw a line going across like this. And honestly, like we just want them to be like bigger than the object that we need them to be. Okay, so like that and that, it's fine. So both of these we're gonna turn into construction lines today, okay? And construction lines are lines that we can't extrude, we can't do anything with, but they're there to like help us lay things out the same way that we would lay out light lines to lay things out later on. So that button is right there, or you can hit the Q. Okay, so both of those are construction buttons now. So now we're gonna use the rectangular pattern tool. Okay, or the linear pattern tool. It's up here. We're going to select the object that we want to pattern. Okay, and basically right now this is producing 3 objects to the right and 1 object up, which is just its original object, right? And if I were to change this number and like let's say make these each 3 inches, then it starts to like separate these things out. Okay, but what I'm going to do is horizontally, I only need 1 object. So I'm just going to say 1 horizontally, but vertically, I want to have maybe like 8 of them. And I want to flip them around so that they're going down. So I click on the arrow point to change that. And I'm going to change the height of these differences from 1 inch to 0.25 inches. Okay, and you can see that like 8 is maybe too many. Like it really doesn't matter. We just want more than what we need, So just make more than what's covering the object, and we're going to click the check button. Okay, oops, not the check button. We're just going to finish that. Now we're going to go back through, select this, and now we do want to create them this way. So we're going to say again 0.25 inches. Enter, and maybe like 12 of them. Enter. That'll probably be pretty good. So we can pull that away now too. Okay, so what we're left with now is some grid that is a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch. All right, so when we look again at this drawing here, I have it kind of backwards, but we want like this bottom, like 1 line down to be basically just below the top of this here. So I'm just going to slide this thing down. And I don't know, I'm going to dimension between here and here to like lock it in place, maybe 0.06. That's fine. Now I can go through and start like copying what's here. So, this line coming down is about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit longer. It's right at the end of this object. Then I'm going to come back, 1, 2, 3, and a little bit less, right? So here's the end of my object. Oh, I got to position this horizontally too. So I want this thing to be more horizontally aligned, like to this point. Okay, let me dimension that and lock that in place. Okay, that's cool. Because again, it's not exactly on the object, so we start there. So when I come down, I'm going to come down again a little bit beyond that first graph box. I'm going to come back 1, 2, 3. I think a little bit down. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, almost to the bottom of the next graph line. Okay, so honestly, this thing needs to come down to like there. Okay, then I come back again and I start thinking about what comes next. So I have like a line up and then a curve. And that curve is going to basically peak at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have this curve that basically starts up here. It's going to end somewhere like down here, and it's going to stop right about there-ish. And I'm going to have a line, not a curve, but a line that connects between here and here. Okay, come back to my drawing. Now I have like this curve that's going to come up a little bit further, and then it's going to curve back and then kind of taper down. Okay, so again, a curve up, not a circle, but a curve. Curve up. Something maybe like that. Then a curve down to the very bottom of my object. Or actually tapered up, right? So because of that, maybe just a little bit less than that. And then ultimately here, this thing tapers this direction to the edge. And that does have an actual dimension. That taper ends at 1.75 from the end. So from the end of my object to the end of this line here, it should be 1.75 inches. Okay, so I don't want everything else to move, so watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to fix it in place, which is this right here. That won't move at this point. I can change this to be 1.75. There we go. So now, remember, that's like what we want to keep. We actually want to cut out all of this. So I need to finish closing that object in. So I have this like enclosed object here. And now I can finish my sketch. I can hit Shift and 7 and Shift and E. And I'm going to select the bottom section of this, and I am going to remove it through all. Check. Okay. Now the last thing that we need for this tip here is, if you notice from the edge, it actually reduces down in thickness to 0.046. So I would say in the top view, because that's still flat, let's create a sketch up here. And 0.046 again is going to be the length of this line, 0.046. Okay, and that line's going to come out again to like 1.75 inches long. And it's going to come back. So I've created an arrow like that, or I'm not an arrow, a triangle rather. I'm going to come back 1.75 inches here. I'm going to bring that back here. Now, these things are not aligned, vertically yet. So I'm going to dimension between here and here. Oops. And I'm going to dimension between here and here. I want both these numbers to be equal. So like, let's say 0.4. Oh, and let's make this a driven dimension. So if I right click on this, change to driven dimension, that'll force that thing to move. Oop, not 0.4, 0.04. Whoops. Okay, so if I have this set at 0.04, that's equal to 0.039. So those are pretty much close. Not exactly, but so let's try 0.039. It'll probably make the other one 0.04. So technically, I guess this is 0.0395. Okay, and then that makes them both equal. And we can hit this, Shift 7, Shift E. I'm going to select this object and this object. And we're not going to extend them up. We are going to remove through all. And we're going to say check. Okay, and that puts the taper on the end there. Okay, so that's how you're going to put the screwdriver and the bottle opener on the end of your handy helper handle.